And we are back, and we're thrilled that Richard Lane is joining us again. We had him on our last program. We're going to have him on this program as well. Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. I did not get a haircut, so I'm probably still in a little trouble. People aren't happy with me right now.
That's all right. People weren't happy with Jesus either, so you're in good company.
That would be good company. Hey, Richard, tell us first of all a little bit about Richard Lane Ministries.
Richard Lane Ministries was founded about 15 years ago, and basically I am a lay missionary. And so I preach, teach, and share the word of God all over the world. Out of 350 million people in the United States, out of 125 million Catholics, out of 40 million African Americans, out of 2 million African American Catholics, I am the only non-ordained Black Catholic evangelist in the United States of America in full-time ministry. And I travel the world doing parish missions, keynoting different conferences and speaking engagements and everything. I do retreats for priests, deacons, and bishops all over the world, and considered an expert on Catholic evangelization. I have done consulting work for dioceses around the world on evangelization as well.
Well, we certainly enjoy having you on our program. We had a very honest discussion last week. Can you tell me about an incident you had? You brought it up. So you had in a Catholic church 3 weeks ago, someone said something to you, used a word that none of us would use. What did you say to them after they used it?
I didn't say anything because I'm the type of person, I know myself. And as I said, I'm from Detroit. I'm from Detroit before I became Catholic. And that Detroit will come out of me real quick. And so I know myself well enough to know I'm going to pick and choose my battles. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let it go, because that's something that I know would trigger something inside of me, and I would go say or do something that was not Christian. And so I just kind of let it go. Again, these are little cuts that we talked about last week of racism that have happened throughout my life. I remember when I was 10 years old, I went to Mass with a good friend of mine in suburban Detroit. He was a white kid, and we went to a Catholic church, and I heard at 10 years old, I heard one of the ushers say, "What is that little N-word boy doing with Treg in this church?" And I heard that, and we stayed for Mass, went back home. I told his mom. His mom left the house, went back up to the church, cursed the priest out for the usher calling me the N-word. But again, these are things that many, many millions of people have had to endure and suffer throughout the course of several centuries. And we, again, have to have the conversation in order to really understand what many people are going through.
What don't I know as a white person, Richard, that you would like me to know as a fellow Catholic and as a Black person? What am I missing? What am I missing about your experience?
I want you to see my Blackness. The worst thing you can say to an African American is, "I don't see color." If you don't see color, then you don't see God. Then you don't see beauty. I want you to see my Blackness. I want you to see the gifts that my Blackness brings to the Catholic Church. The woman that's on my wall right here, her name was Sister Thea Bowman. Sister Thea Bowman was the first and probably one of the only Black Catholic nuns that addressed the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops in 1989. This Black nun addressed 400 bishops and told them about the beauties of being Black and Catholic, the beauties and the great dynamic that the Afrocentric people bring to the Catholic Church. One of the things I always say is those of us that are not lactose intolerant, we love milk, But you know what? White milk is much better when you put a little chocolate into it. And that's basically what we do is we bring a little bit more flavor. We have been black and Catholic since the beginning of time. You know, let's not forget the Ethiopian eunuch who was evangelized by St. Philip, the deacon, you know, one of the first deacons. And so the church has been black and Catholic for many, many, many years.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's interesting, Richard, when we do interviews, we have time. I'm going to go right past the time. We're going to just keep talking right now. That's actually a cue to the director so he knows that we're going to keep going. You know, I like to look at it as a masterpiece in the sense that when you look at a painting, if it's one color, then it's just not a masterpiece, but it's putting all of those different paints together that it becomes this beautiful, beautiful work. And we all have dignity. And I think that as people, we have to realize that it's through our differences, whether it be the color of our skin, our cultures, that we make up this masterpiece of humanity.
Exactly. You know, I am a hodgepodge of different nationalities. I'm African. I have come from African descent. I have Native American in me. And guess what, Jay? I even have some Irish in me. Yes, Irish. My great ×3 grandmother came from a small town outside of Killarney, Ireland. And so that's what makes us beautiful. Even in the Catholic Church, you put African Americans together with Irish, with Italian, with Polish, and you meld us all together. I remember I was doing a parish mission in suburban Atlanta, Georgia. I believe it was Norcross, Georgia, about 3 years ago. And they had a day of celebration of all of the ministries in there, of all the different ethnic ministries in their church. They had over 47 different nationalities represented in this one Catholic church. And they all came together twice a year to celebrate each and every one of their heritages. That's what Catholic, small c, is all about. You know, we're not just Eurocentric. We are African, we're Asian, we're Latino, we are Hispanic. You know, we all come together. That's what makes us all beautiful.
And now let's talk a moment about saints that black saints who we have, and also maybe you mentioned Sister Bowman, maybe some saints we're hoping for.
You know, there's one thing I always teach people. Out of the 266, 67, or 68 popes, the Holy Fathers we've had in the past, a lot of people don't realize that we've had 3 African popes: Pope St. Gelasius, Pope St. Miltiades, and Pope St. Victor. We've had 3 African popes. A lot of people don't understand. The church that I attend here in Detroit is called the Catholic Community of St. Moses the Black. St. Moses the Black is known as the father of Western monasticism. He was a gangbanger back in the 3rd or 4th century, and he had 75 robbers and thieves. They used to go and pillage and murder and rape and steal. They came across a monastery. He was converted on the spot. Long story short, he became a monk. He became an abbot. He had 75 men that were under him, 75 monks, and he was martyred for the church. We forget about Father Augustus Tolton, who was the first African-American ordained for the United States, not in, but for. He was a slave. He was Catholic in Quincy, Illinois. He wanted to become a priest. No one would ordain him in the United States because he was black. They sent him to Europe. He was ordained in Rome, came back to the United States, and he was pastor of a small church in Quincy, Illinois. He was known as that nigger priest to those nigger Catholics. That's the ministry that he had. He was then later transferred to Chicago, Illinois, where he died at 46 years old. A lot of people say that he died due to complications of all the stress that he had being a black man in the Catholic Church. Finally, You know, we recognize people such as St. Peter Claver, who ministered to millions and millions of slaves and converted them to Catholicism. We think about Blessed Peter Donders, who was a Redemptorist saint that brought the gospel to Suriname. I was honored and blessed to be able to go to Suriname several times and be able to start the very first Catholic men's conference in the nation of Suriname. We think about Sister Thea Bowman, who was this beautiful nun that died in 1990. She was a convert from Baptist, and she loved the Catholic faith. And she died of cancer, but even until her last breath, she continued to go and preach the gospel. These are the wonderful things. And then we've got the modern day saints. We've got the modern day saints like Father Jim Good, who was out in New York, who was the godfather of the Black Catholic revivalists. We've got a good friend of mine who just passed away, Father Chester Smith, who just passed away, one of the twins, the first African-American twins priests to ever be ordained together. My godfather, Father Carlisle Blake, who was a Redemptorist priest who really continued to help me. So, and then we've got people like Bishop Reed, who has been an inspiration to me for many years because of his work, because of his love. We are all called to be saints, Jay. We are all called to go and do we're ordinary people called to do extraordinary things through God.
Well, Richard, unfortunately, I'm called to end the interview because I've gone over by about 5 minutes, but that's okay. And I could go on forever with you. I wish we had more time. We're going to have you come back again. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. God bless you.